Hi, everybody. Mitch Tanenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. This is the rumor and innuendo department for CMMC for October 2023. At this point, we still don't know any more facts. Really, there's a few, but not really than we did last month. Key thing is when this damn rule is going to actually come out. We thought it was going to come out for sure in October. Um, I suppose there's a couple of days in October still left, so it's possible it could come out in October, but I'm not holding my breath. So more than likely sometime in November, assuming the government doesn't shut down. Um, Two ways this rule is could possibly come out. One is as an interim final rule, which allows the Defense Department to invoke it within 60 days. The challenge with that is that the everybody, the cyber AV, everybody would need to go off and rework everything based on the final rule, and they're just not going to have time to do that in 60 days. The alternative would be for it to come out as a proposed rule, in which case it becomes final towards the end of 2024, basically a year later. Um, so we shall see. We shall see how that happens. Um, so a couple things that we think we know, and that's the best we can say until the rule comes out. Um, Things called security protection assets, which are things like firewalls and log servers and antivirus servers and multi-factor authentication servers and stuff like that. They are going to be added to the CMMC assessment process. So if they're local or they're not in a public cloud, they're going to need to be assessed against all of the CMMC level 2 110 controls. If they're in the cloud, they'll need to be FedRAMP certified. So that's new. The security protection data, which is the log data and stuff like that, will need uh, basically it'll be treated like CUI, even though it's not actually CUI. This is the best we know at this point. This is what we think. Um, and and contractor risk managed assets, which are things that are not technically won't contain a CUI, but there's really nothing to stop them from containing CUI. They may be assessed against the CMMC requirements if it's not sufficiently documented as to how and why they're not going to contain any CUI. The level 2 assessments right now don't go off and include verifying third party's FedRAMP status or another party's 7012 compliance. We don't know how that's going to come down. We're hoping that we'll get some clarification when the rule comes out. Private sector assessors at this point don't feel that they can assess those topics, but we shall see what happens. CMMC level 3, which is mostly involved around the intelligence world, we're hoping will be formalized as a result of this coming out. We shall see. Um, EMAS for defense contractors, we're talking about a data. What is the database? SPURS is not a database where you put sensitive data. It's just not designed for that. So they're thinking of putting in EMAS, which traditionally has been used for classified environments. And it looks like DoD is working on creating a version of EMAS for CMMC assessments and certification. So we'll see. The rumor is that that is close to ready for prime time, but we don't know what the rules are going to be. We do expect the rule to include a method for defense contractors to do their annual CMMC level 1 uh, and level 2 annual attestations and record that. It'll probably require an executive of the company to sign that attestation is accurate, similar to Sarbanes-Oxley. The exact rules for flow down and the prime's responsibilities we think will be published. It's expected that the primes will be responsible for the cybersecurity of their supply chain. And obviously, primes should be able to pick and choose which subcontractors need CMMC based on what data they're sharing with them. So that doesn't seem like a surprise. The rule may encourage primes to push all of their subcontractors to have CMMC certificates, which I guess could mean level 1. I don't know. It'll also possible that primes will be allowed to accept third-party assessment reports for their subcontractors in lieu of CMMC certificates, given that right now we have such a limited number of CMMC assessors. We do expect the rule to include specific language about how many or which requirements you can fail and still result in a CMMC certificate. We expect the criteria to be very strict, especially in comparison to the government's own cybersecurity programs, which do allow long-term POAMs. We still expect the rule to apply only to a small number of contracts in the early years because they don't have the assessors to do the assessments. But that being said, 7012, which is basically the same thing except without the third-party assessment, that's in effect now. We think that the DoD will continue to have some kind of waiver process. The problem with the waiver process is that some DoD brass is going to have to put their John Hancock on the line, and they don't like doing that. The question is, what is DoD going to do if you have vendor A, which has a product at one price, but they don't have a CMMC compliance certificate, and vendor B that has that same product, let's say at twice the price, just to make a point, but they have a CMMC certificate? Is the government going to go off and say, because historically they've said, lowest cost qualifying, right? Well, if qualifying includes CMMC, that means the government gets to pay twice as much to have a piece of paper that says they're secure. Is the government going to, that's going to pass right through, right? The prime is going to pass that right through to the government. Does the government want to go do that? Don't know. We'll see. Right now, the number of C3 PAOs is very, very limited. In part, that's because the process is very rigorous, which it should be. In part because it's very expensive, which is the funding source for the Cyber AB. But the Cyber AB is not yet accredited by ISO, and they've struggled trying to get there. Will the rule change that? I don't know. What about 800-171 revision 3? Unclear. The way 7012 is written right now, it says you have to be compliant with whatever the current version of 800-171 was at the time you signed the contract, whether that's revision 2 or revision 3. That seems pretty clean. But we don't know. We'll see what happens. What happens if the contract was, if the person was, a company was assessed at the time under the rules of 800-171 revision 2, but the contract was signed after 800-171 revision 3 came into play. So we don't know. We don't know. So we're still trying to figure this out, and there's more that we don't know, and not so much that we do know. But the key thing here, I think, is that if you are a company who thinks you're going to have to be CMMC certified, you need to be in that process now. It's going to take you a long time, especially if you are also, for example, already ISO 27001 certified. If you have a SOC 2, that's worthless. Don't even consider that. That's not a relevant criteria. ISO 9000, that's at least it says you're putting some processes in place, so that's good. But you need to start now because it's going to be a significant change, and the key thing is documentation. I can't say that enough. To the degree that you have documentation, you're going to be able to bully the assessor into saying, okay, you qualify for this particular control or that particular control. But if you have no documentation, the assessor is just going to say, it's not in place. Prove to me that it's in place. So start now, work at a steady pace. And by the time it gets in place, which I think, best guess, is going to be early 2025, who knows? Then you'll be, in a better place to go for your certification process. If you have questions or if you need help, and I don't think anybody can do this by themselves, then please contact us. Thanks for listening.
Turnkey Cybersecurity and Privacy Solutions offers the complete cybersecurity program for small to medium-sized businesses. They include everything needed to secure your business and meet compliance requirements. Visit our website at turnkeycybersecurityandprivacysolutions.com to learn more.